Welcome
Hello.
back.
Hello.
Eric is amazed with his new headphones and going
Hello.
deep in the voice today.
Hello.
But welcome back, everyone, to the DJ Life podcast, where today we're going to be talking about stuff we will talk about.
Yes, I was told we needed a topic, and so I went to Facebook and ChatGPT and also quickly scraped Joe Bunn's podcast for topics. And we'll see if we ever make it to the topic.
Out of that, he messaged me and said efficiency.
Someone, Scott, I think, commented that. I don't know.
There's a lot of efficiency topics to talk about. Are we talking about efficiency of gear, efficiency of operations, efficiency of events,
the
efficiency
thing
of
is I feel like
loadout?
I feel like we've talked about all that type of crap a lot, but at the same time,
now we can condense it into one episode.
Maybe. Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to recycle necessarily, but at the same time, all I ever care, like, yeah, we go off on little funny tangents and shit sometimes, but I like the business talk. You know, I like talking about the best way to make money with some shit, you know, or like whatever.
So I'll portray the question. What does efficiency bring to mind when I say efficiency?
So
what do you first think of?
I feel like I first think of how my definition has changed.
Okay.
Because like when you made that YouTube video like in 2019 or something like that.
Oh, like the
going through my office.
Yeah, the giant QSC set where we made a wall of QSC K12s.
And at the time, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Efficiency, if you're, you know, we've got the rock and roller carts, the rigs all on them. They're
uniform.
In a line, they're numbered. It's just like, I mean, that is efficient. You know, I'm not saying that's not. But now, you know, I mean, the DJs keep their own gear. Most of the new people don't even use our gear. And really the gear, I've almost like separated entirely from anything that I have anything to do with, you know? So really all the gear efficiency, like, yes, you should be efficient with your gear, but if you're not, that's not my problem almost. And I mean, maybe, is that bad? That's not bad. I don't know. But the efficiency on my end is like, how can I keep overhead down on the admin side? You know, I saw someone post the other day something about if you're charging, I think he said $1,500. If you're charging $1,500, he was like, some people just don't get it. Like, some people have to implying that basically you can't charge $1,500 and it be enough money to go full time and pay your bills and do whatever you do. And I can't even remember how that was worded exactly, but regardless of what you charge, if you don't have expenses, you know, like $1,500, that could be a $1,500 profit, and it's probably not, but you get my point. You know what I mean?
It's just a math game. That's all it is.
Well, if you do let's say I was a solo op and I charged $1,500 and I did 2 events a week and that's it, right?
That's a lot.
$3,000 a week. That's 6 figures, $150,000 a year. You know,
I'm just saying it's a lot of events. Well,
2 a week. I'm looking at
let's backtrack my statement.
Yeah, Greg Alfonso would punch you for saying that.
Let's exclude New Jersey, New York.
Right.
That's a lot of events.
Yeah, I mean, but
and big cities, they can do it too.
Either way, you know.
But still, like I said, it's a math equation. It's all a math equation.
It is a math equation. You know, profit margin. I'm in Mentor Pods.
I think how's that going right now?
Honestly,
I haven't got an update on where you're at on that.
I mean, you know, the program is great. I'm just a hard-headed, stupid fucker. Like, I literally...
You refuse to learn.
I kind of do. And it's not their fault. I just, like, I'll get in this mode as soon as I get in the lesson. And I like, don't care. you know, I'll like go into my I don't care mode, and I'll just be on Instagram chilling and like looking at myself in my Zoom call, you know, because it's like on Zoom, and you can look at your video, and I'll literally just be like looking at myself. I like kind of be like fucking with my hand tattoo because it's new still, just stupid shit like that, and I don't learn fucking anything. But the few times I have paid attention, they, you know, because I went to college, but I only took maybe like half a semester before I dropped out. And it's almost like the finance class I took in college. Some of the lessons I paid attention to, and I've like learned the terms. You know all the terms. I already know you will know all that shit. But you know all the scorecards and gross income and net this and jerka.
What I'm gathering is it's all about your learning style. Everyone has a different way of learning information. And I was talking to my coach about this because, you know, their coaching program, she was talking about onboarding new clients. We literally went like 2 hours when we're supposed to go for an hour because we got sidetracked talking about her business, which was fun to talk about like ways to gain more clients and stuff. And I was like, yes, you have programs starting at $69 a month or a week or whatever, but it's a group setting. And some people learn where they need someone like your trainer where like they are force feeding you to do exactly, and they're like micromanaging the fuck out of you one-to-one. So some people need one-to-one, which I think is where you're at. Some people can learn in a small group. Some people can learn in a big group, and some people can just be given the information and they can go find it and get it. And they're driven. They're obsessive. They like to do that. They can just drive and go.
Yeah. You know, I want to say you're correct and that one-on-one would solve my problem. Whatever's wrong. But I don't know, because literally anytime I've ever been in school, I was a total fucking shithead. You know, like all through high school and the short, brief moment of college. Unless I was literally like searching YouTube videos and reading my own shit, you know, stuff that I was like, I want to learn this right this second, and just did whatever. Yeah. Around that, I don't know. I don't know what learning style I work best with. You know,
you don't have one.
I don't. I might not have one. Well, I do know that, like I said, it's not the program. It is me, and I know that. And it's not like I'm gonna like drop it because I want the videos. I want all the lessons. And then
so when you're ready for it, you can
exactly. I can always go back. I actually went back earlier and then changed my mind because I was like, oh, I'm ready to finally watch this one video. And
ADHD.
Then I was like, actually, I'm not. like closed it out, and I'll get back to it.
I think Brian's says it the best. ADHD. You're describing ADHD.
I don't know, because I mean, I guess I don't know to a certain extent, but I'm just not good at sitting and learning like that.
It's fine.
But you know, efficiency stuff, you know, like in the I'm only talking about like North and South Carolina. So like the one that I do the most, it is me and Lindsay. You know, Grant, like Lindsay took Graham's job, so it's 2 admin people, and that's it. And I've been, you know, that and advertising is the only overhead, unless I'm a douchebag and buy a computer or buy some crap.
I was about to say, with the exception of my, with the exception of anything that can possibly be written down as a tax write-off gets taken as a tax write-off.
And those expenses,
but that's a different type of.
That's me different. Finessing the system, but
that's
it's not
legal
a true
tax evasion.
Yeah, it's
legal tax evasion. That's the best way I like to put it.
but like, you know, as for like actual expenses, I have to pay for operating.
Yeah, the business runs. Will not run unless you pay these things.
Exactly. You know, we got advertising, software, and Lindsay's salary, and then my own, I guess. But
yeah, and those are the expenses, and then of course the DJs are in the cost of goods field, which is different,
right?
Or cost of work, whatever. However you want.
Right. Well, they don't get paid unless we get paid.
Yeah, that filters into the cost of goods or the cost of figures. Basically, we're talking about your gross profit minus your expenses. Now we got our net profit.
So gross profit is before the shit. That's like
revenue.
It's
gross
like
profit.
how much sales did you make? That's exactly. Your gross profit. and then you start thinking about, well, you spent $20 on gas, so
Your expenses are your set expense. Like like if you do 20 events this month and 10 events this month, your expenses do not change.
Right.
But your how many DJs get paid and how much they get paid, that fluctuates based on the percentage of how much revenue is brought in.
Right. Yes.
So the efficiency side we're talking about is how do you reduce or make your expenses as lean and as efficient as you can, so that way you don't have to rely on as much revenue to break even / profit.
Right. Well, so that goes back to that $1,500 comment. You know, it's like, well,
Depends
if
how much
you
you
had
spend.
your shit correct, in a nutshell, you'd be fine. And maybe not, but either way, that's the math. You know,
Exactly.
you know, you don't have to charge $5,000 to make a bunch of money. Maybe, you know, and sometimes, you know, homies charging $5,000 and $6,000. They have so much overhead because they got to bring a whole staff with them. I don't really know anything about it, so I can't keep naming shit that costs money, but they're, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And they're, you know, they're only
It's
walking
their
with,
admin staff,
they're
their
only
operations
walking,
staff.
They're only
It's
walking
huge.
with $1,500. So like, what the fuck, you know? And then you did all this extra work when you could have just like showed up with 2 tops and made $1,500, and is probably going to be easier, you know?
Yeah. So it just depends. And if you're paying an assistant to come, that's going to be more, that would be more cost of goods, but in general, it's going to cost you more. It's funny. So your efficiency goes to how to eliminate expense.
Yeah, work on pennies, you know, thrive on pennies. That's the thought process.
And I would agree. So my thought process around both lighting as we expand it, that is our kind of thing, is how small can we keep the team but grow it as big as we can. And because if we keep the team small, then less salaries have to be paid and we can bank more off the company. The DJ side, it's weird. I've always thought about efficiency in terms of how do we make every event as seamless as the last? How does every experience that every client has be the same in terms of, I think that's not necessarily the definition of efficiency, but how can I make it as simple for a new DJ to join the company and deliver the same quality as myself or Marcellus or someone that's already been in it?
Well, you know, I actually got a Facebook
Like the
message
systems
earlier.
that are in play. Efficiency for me is all about systems, basically.
Basically, you're saying how your version, what you're talking about as efficiency is like,
The systems.
yeah, well, so let's say I just hire some fucking guy. Can he step in tomorrow and be just as good as the rest?
Yes, but so it applies to new hires, but also to current hires to maintain them at the same level of delivery. So I think of like automational systems in terms of the same emails get sent out, the same text messages, the same processes followed, the same training in terms of how to do your planning consultation.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, would you ever do you step out of just software when you talk about this? Because training,
Yes, training.
that all of a sudden is different.
So
you know?
like templates, like giving templates to the DJs in terms of, hey, this is how you respond to this. This is how you respond to that. When this task populates for you to glance over the planning form to see where they're at, do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Don't just glance at it and then you
Right.
just glance at it and that's it. But glance at it, and if they're at 2% planned, you need to like text them, email them, and maybe even fucking call them because like there's a problem.
Yeah, so we don't do any training anymore. There was obviously a time when we trained people into the ground. Now we typically hire people that just already know what they're doing. And if you don't, it's super rare for us to train someone from the ground up. We've done it twice in the last year and a half. And but we had so many people through COVID that would like go through, you know, we spent a shitload of effort on them, and then they just be like, I changed my mind. And it's like, and that happened time after time after time after time. So we kind of gave up on it. But so now we just don't have any of this training and process. Like we have all of our processes, but it's all software. It doesn't step into the real world like me and a DJ that works for Dow Oak. I'm never like, when you do a ceremony, tie your cables like this, or like whatever the training
Now,
is.
I will say I'm not nearly. I talk about it like I got everything documented. No, not even close. We got the essentials right now. That's where I want to get to.
Right.
Which is just, it's like one of those things where every day when we talk about efficiency, I'm trying to be as efficient every day. And sitting down and making videos telling people, DJs, how to wrap their cables or how to do this is not necessarily the most efficient thing with my time right now based on what all I'm working with.
I don't think...
Not even for my admin staff to be doing that.
I think that you can learn a serious bulk of stuff like that in the field. Like,
yes,
what we've done and had the most success with new DJs. Let's say I hire a waiter, right? Literally someone who has never turned on a speaker unless it was like a Bluetooth speaker on the beach. So not a DJ. Anyways. Okay.
We'll get to that question.
Yeah, not a new DJ. So what we would do, we would go... I'll call it the warehouse, even though it's just like behind my house. We would set up
the storage unit.
Yeah, exactly. We would set up all the gear, and I'd have this new person. I'd teach them how to sync the microphones, and I'd teach them how to wrap their cables.
I have on video.
And I would teach them
how to sync microphones.
How to sync. You're right.
So the most common shit that like people are always like, how to. So basically, what we do this now, but like back then it was like whenever Marcellus, Ralph, Drake, whenever they would call me day of asking a question, I made a note to make a video of it the next fucking week because like how to sync the sound switch controller. I said, Marcellus, make a video of that because we need to have that.
You also have a lot more going, like right off the bat.
It's way
I don't even know
it's
how
way
to do what
techier.
the fuck you just said.
I've
I've never DMX'd anything in my life other than that time I was your little bitch for the night, and you just told me to click buttons, and I was like, all right.
But we don't even use that now. We switched over to a system that just runs itself. It's like AI almost.
Okay.
The sound switch stuff is automated.
Gotcha.
Like they need to know the DJ needs to know how to click 1 and 2 because we ran into assistants. This is systems, how to make things more efficient. Assistants, the lighting in Chavez Show Express was only as good as the assistant was to run it. So we'd have assistants that would click one button.
Right.
Then they click another button.
Yeah, they're just not into it.
And then we'd have ones that'd be like ding, 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 ding,
Right.
ding, ding. So with the sound switch, it's not as good as the Chavez guy going crazy, but it's more consistent and consistency among the group is huge. So now we all use the same program shows. So every event has the exact same DMX program shows that run every single night. And all they have to know is there's like 4 levels to the thing. There's fades, there's 2 color combos, 3 color combos, and then complex crazy shit. And then there's a strobe button. So you just select where you're at in terms of your mixing. If you're going 128, press complex. If you're going fade. So the DJ now could just press where I'm at in terms of tempo. And then if they do a crazy drop, they just hit the strobe button.
Right. Because strobe, duh.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, it bounces, it changes different colors, and makes it efficient across the board.
But like, so, we have this new person who's never done it, set up the gear, tear it down, set it up, tear it down, until they just know what they're doing. And keep in mind, the people who do use because I'm training someone to use my gear in this scenario. So there's no chance they're going to have a different gear. This is the gear. So I don't really need you to be aware of how to set up JBL speakers because we're setting up QSC speakers. It's not something they need to know. Anyway, so they'll do all that, and it gets that part out of the way, and then they start going and shadowing a DJ at a wedding, seeing how they do the mic and maybe doing a couple cake announcements, the smaller stuff, seeing how to line them up and just do all the shit. But they're not so flabbergasted at the gear because they know how to do that part. So and then they can actually learn. And then when you do it in that order, usually I have like a vet ass DJ after 15 to 20 sessions, and that's not that crazy,
So I'm interested where this is going to go. We're actually going to move into hiring in the fourth quarter. We're going to be doing a big push around hiring assistants, hiring DJs, and we're going to see what we can do with it. But over the last few years, I've been leaning more towards hiring vetted DJs already. Guys that are pretty much whoever's the most known or the best DJs in our area that are willing to step over to a company instead of working for themselves. That's kind of who I want. I want good, talented DJs that are already out in the field that just want to be part of a bigger brand, and then give them kind of the skill set and some of the smaller stuff around like DMXing lighting and stuff. I just want a DJ that has really good skill sets, like really dope at mixing, dope, can do transitions and crazy shit like that, dope MC. Then we can take them and add the production level stuff that we do to it, the presentation level, and then just take them up to a new tier. And typically, at least with the last few that we've hired, they're making more now than what they were on their own, because they were only a good DJ and they didn't understand how to market or any of the other stuff that comes with it.
Right, but on your own, you know, you can book your 20 weddings, but if I can hand you 50, and if I pay you half, you still made more, you know, so...
Or headhunting from other companies where they're not paying as good.
Yeah,
Just
well...
pick the best one and be like, hey,
so,
yo...
It's funny you say
you want to come work?
as you know, I've swiped people before, right? And it's so unfair because I say swipe, but I'm just being blunt. Now...
You just offer them a better deal. I mean, that's all it is.
Well, first off, the only person I've swiped was literally my own cousin, right? And he was getting paid less than half at this multi-op. And I was like, dude, you know, we'll pay you this much. And, you know, I can't give you full time, but I can give you what I can give you. So whatever, you know, and that, duh. But, so this dude posted today in like some DJ forum, I don't know. And was basically like, you know, this DJ backed out at the last minute on me. Should I tag him or should I put him on blast? Basically, he backed out a week before, and I commented, doing my thing. I was like, yeah, fucking tag his ass so I can dodge him or whatever I said. Turns out this dude works for me, right? And I was like, ooh, that's really awkward. He bailed on this guy. I don't know what their discussion was.
Was this a local wedding? Was this just this past weekend? Like, did he bail on a wedding just recently?
I think it's in the future because this happened today.
Okay. I'm only asking because we literally just got an inquiry and, like, they were talking about it while I was up in Ohio. Like, Hannah got a call or whatever. DJ was getting paid, like, they paid him, like, $750 or something, supposedly. And literally the week of said, sorry, nope, can't do it.
Different scenario.
But
this is like a multi-op guy, right? Yeah. Like a owner of a multi-op. And I guess... I don't know. The dude that did it, he's very ditzy, honestly. Yeah. But
that's interesting.
Anyways, he, you know, I have him booked because I booked him he's like one of my, I book him a lot, you know, and the guy messaged me about it or whatever, and he was like, you know, oh, well, he might do this to you, and I wanted to be like, listen. He definitely isn't going to do that to me because I give him so many weddings. That's the reason he bailed on you. Like, I'm trying not to, like, I'm not putting myself up there, but that's what causes loyalty, is putting a fuck ton of money in people's pockets and a fuck ton of gigs on their fucking list. You know what I mean? Like, you think he's going to fuck me over and lose 40 weddings? Versus the one you gave him, of course he bailed on you. I'm sorry, you know, and that sucks. And obviously, you know, you shouldn't do that. But I don't, you know, he's loyal to me. We're good, you know. What I mean?
Honestly, in that scenario, like if he's only doing a few weddings for that guy, it's honestly his fault for not doing a little more vetting. I would say,
100%,
or follow up, like
definitely.
Consistency, like
yeah. How is this just now coming up? You know, like I didn't dive into it because it's none of my business, honestly, and it's my boy. You know, I didn't want to like think less of, you know.
But in a way, you know, like all my guys now, keep in mind they are W-2, so I'm not as detailed, but I keep tabs on what they're doing on a weekly, day-to-day basis. I know what events they got coming up, whether it's their own club events or whatever. And I keep note of, like, if I start seeing one of my guys doing a lot of stuff in the bar, I take the time to give him a call and be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? How's things going? Just want to make sure we're straight and you're still on board with everything we're doing.
We have a twice monthly email with your gigs, and it just in case you're not looking on your own, just don't forget, here's your schedule, here's the updated one every 15 days. And if I'd imagine if Homeboy had been doing something along those lines, my guy would have been like, ooh, wait a second, at some point, you know what I mean? And maybe not, and that's why I didn't want to question him, because then I'd be like, fuck, you're an idiot. But I don't know. In a nutshell, loyal to me, I was like, I'm not worried about it. I don't think that you should message me like this.
I think, so back on the swiping one, I think I told you this, but I don't know if I said it on the podcast. So our recent DJ that moved over from another company, Jordan, it's funny because, like, it was all started with a natural conversation. Mm-hmm. And he reached out to me. I had actually had eyes on him because I noticed what DJs are popping off on social media close to us that look like they're doing good stuff. Mm-hmm. And he actually messaged me out of nowhere. It's like, yo, I noticed you're in Greensboro. And I literally just replied and said, hey, join the team. And then, that sparked a conversation. We had lunch. He came over to the house. We had some talks. We had some phone calls. Mm-hmm. Just, this is what we have to offer. And then he literally was like, all right, yeah, I'm moving over to cut ties with K2. And they were just oblivious, I guess, to the changeover. He constantly was messaging, telling them hey, my last wedding, no more bookings, no more of this. And then literally it was last month, because he's got one left here in October, but I think it was June or July, he was doing a good amount, and then that was it. And literally he was in one of our stories or something recently, he did his first FSL wedding, and they emailed him. It's how dare they poach you like that? I didn't know who you were working for. It's he's been, since January 1st, he's been on my payroll as our social media guy.
Yeah.
And it's how is it not that clear?
The thing is, and this is, I've said this a bunch of times to dudes that are subbing gigs for me. It's I'm not here to prevent you from a future. You know what I mean?
I'm only here to help you.
I'm literally if you don't want the job, I'm not holding you to it. There's no commitment here, unless you want the job. If you want, October, whatever, then you can't fuck me over. You can't bail on me, because that's different. But past that, you don't owe me anything, though. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask, and if yes, then yes, and that's all there is to it.
Yep.
But as for if, let's say they move on, right, and go, I don't know what, go to FSL, whatever.
Sure, they come work for me.
They come work for you. Well, it's because something you're doing is better than what I was doing. And if I truly wanted that person to stay, I should have upped the pay, or I should have made their job more fun, or whatever the fucking reason. You get my point, though.
Or it's just a different type of event they want to be doing.
And sure, but whatever. You get my... I'm just saying that I'm not going to be oh, you poached them, because it's my fault they left.
Yeah.
But,
it's a lot of people... but you mentioned it well. It's it's not just money a lot of times. It's money. It's how they're treated. It's how they feel in terms of being part of the company. Money is the first asset. Mm-hmm. The second and third asset is how you treat them. So, in his case, as soon as he said, hey, I'm wanting to leave, the first thing they said is, can we pay you more? Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's not just about money. Mm-hmm. It's more than that.
I'd probably be like, well, what are you talking now? I'd be but money is the first asset, so maybe you could just mention some figures real quick.
Exactly. And, I have multiple benefits over a couple other companies with the fact that we have multiple other companies. So Jordan now also works for Bow Flying USA. Mm-hmm. He works full time for us. Mm-hmm. So he's able to have a full time 9-to-5 job during the week and still DJ and make significantly good money when it comes to the work he's doing. So there's opportunities within the same company for other roles inside of other companies and growth aspects and all that bullshit.
I was actually talking about this to Greg some time ago. I was like, oh, once we make X dollars, we're going to put an admin person into play. And then you can do what I've done my same progression here, you'll do there. Mm-hmm. You'll still be an admin person, but it's I'll call it the bitch work, even though it's not a fair, but it's just like the
emergency overseer.
Yeah, the emergency overseer,
making sure the wheels are turning.
You know, you're still talking to clients and making sure you're making bigger decisions though than
Correct.
making
You're a
phone
decision
calls
maker
kind of thing.
You're a decision maker,
right? I wonder what, and they were talking about this in Mentor Pods, and it's something that I just over my head. But how much revenue? I guess technically there's no real cap, but I'm saying how much revenue before you bring on a new salary to pay to help for that revenue before you get upside down.
So you know you can calculate it is the best way to do it. So like Pilo mentioned, what's the best profit margin to shoot for, and he's pretty spot on. About 50 to 60% is what you should shoot for. In terms of, well, actually, you should shoot for 60 to higher. In terms of, well,
are we talking about a profit margin for the net?
Let me back up. Let me back up. 50 to 60 is good. We're talking about when you pay the guys, how much money is left over. At the minimum, you should be making 40%. So if you're paying your guys, between paying your assistants, your guys, their mileage, whatever, you should be left with no less than about 40%. Last time I ran our numbers, we're about 55%.
Wait, and this is before we start adding in advertising.
Yes,
and all the expenses.
This is our gross profit.
Labor. This is just labor subtracted.
So this is our gross profit margin. So this is how much money we charge $2,000 for the event. We're left with $1,000 because now we got to pay for everything else.
Right.
So if you know your set expense every single month, so I want to make it simple number so I can calculate it back. So say your set expense every single month is $5,000. Well, you need to be bringing in $10,000 of revenue to be able to pay for $5,000.
Right, because you would lose $5,000, and then the expenses are also $5,000.
So if you want to bring on an ad man, that's going to cost you an extra $1,000 per month to pay them. Just say it's $1,000 you need to be making an extra $2,000 per month to not lose out on your bottom line margin.
Say that again. You said ad man, and I was like immediately going to make fun of you.
If you hire someone,
wasn't listening.
So if you hire someone to run your company, say you have a 50% gross profit margin on all the events you do. If they're going to cost an extra $2,000 per month, that's how much you're going to pay them. We pay them more than that, of course. But quick math, say it's $2,000 they get paid. Well, with a 50% profit margin, you'd be making another $4,000 to not lose any more money.
Well, the question isn't, at least for me, it's not like, oh, at what point am I not losing money? It's just, at what point do I, how much money do we need to be pulling in so that I hire the admin person and then me back up even more and make even bigger decisions, I guess, for this. So
it really comes down to how much money do you need? Because how much money do you need in your...
Shit, dog. I'm saying,
all right,
fucking cash.
Let's just say, so here's the benefit. Here's the biggest thing I've learned over the last 2 years now of hiring a business coach, and she pushing me in the direction of building a business. You've heard this before. Build a business that works without you. So literally the business just runs its fucking self, and you just sit back, and you should have like maybe a month check-in. That's like the goal is like a month, maybe a quarter. You just check in as almost like a board advisor. Like, where are we at? Yeah, you should do that. You should not do that. All right, check back in a month or whatever. And you just let it run. So I don't remember where I was going with this, but that's the goal. But like to get to that point, you need to backtrack because I was going to the point of the more you step back and get to the point where you can just oversee and look more big picture, future down the line, where we need to move to get to what points, the faster you'll make more money. Because if you're in the grind on the day to day,
right,
you just that's all you're gonna fucking do is the day to day.
Yeah.
If you sit back and think, all right, if we change payroll providers, if we do this differently, if we add this margin in here, if we change out this system for this system or build this system, and you can focus more on the future, the systems, the processes, the faster you'll be able to scale that business down the
Right.
line.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like, so I use my reminders app as a to-do list, and I'll put just anything that crosses my mind. If I like, text Chris, or is something as small as that, all the way to a big idea that's like, start a photo booth company. I don't know, but just like something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And obviously the smaller tasks get swiped, and then slowly the bigger ones move up to the top. And I have like just this massive list. Well, massive is like 15 things, but of like big task things like what we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what you should be working on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I had stepped back more, because I've been ever since the Graham thing, which started pretty much around the time I got married at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I just keep getting sucked back, and I was working on stepping back. I just didn't know that what was happening, and that things were about to get real rough. And I think
It's good to know that you can step in, fix shit, and like keep it running.
right.
One of the biggest things though is systems. So like, what is it that you do when you step in to make shit work?
It sucks being like the automation guy.
Yes.
Because like that's a skill set. I mean, there's a reason people know me.
I can relate. I can relate.
Because like there's almost no teaching that.
We had a Zapier break recently. Don't ask me. This is a Honeybook Zapier thing that happened. I did an automated email blast in Honeybook that we were raising our rates. At the beginning of September, everyone's amount went up $200, just the base rate across the board. So we sent out an email to everyone. I did a bulk send to everyone. For some fucking reason, I don't know why, it took everybody in archive, like leads from like 2019, and it triggered the initial email that gets sent out manually, like the guarantee to get into their inbox to just make sure they see our image on the first thing. It's like, hey, we're available on so and so date, and it checks against our availability sheet, which of course for those dates there's no date listed on there, so it's going to be 100% available. We got people being like, what, like respond like, hi Hannah, if you're this far behind in your inbox, you should quit your job. Like,
oh my God.
Like literally, like people savages going crazy. It sent it to like 400 people, and I was like, and like Hannah just texted me like, help, the system's breaking, these people are pissing me off, I don't know what to fucking do. And I was like, oh shit, like
right.
I don't have any
some funky weird shit, and that's like,
and that's the
doable shit. That, and it's almost, you can't like prep them for it, because it's always something small, and it leads to oh my God.
But if you're the one that created all that automation, they have no fucking clue what's going on. They just see that people are emailing back, and they're like, what did you do?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think next year I'm going to hire someone else full time and have that person and Lindsay handle it. That's like my goal. And then at that point, I'm not even saying I'm going to go start this business. I think I'm just going to double down on what we're doing now, and start that brand new website, do the big stuff,
And I would 100% agree with that, because as much as I've loved pushing into all these new businesses, this year was a big moment of retracting and focus on what it is we got, because it's just like if you keep starting new business after new business after new business, you'll never scale one of them.
You're going to have a bunch of tiny snowballs.
You're going to have a bunch of tiny ass fucking businesses.
Right.
And that's kind of the definition of it. You have to... Alex Hermosi talks about that, where he had that moment where he was doing like a gym business, a consulting business, a few other ones, and he coaches people now where he asked them, he's like, all your businesses, if you could just drop all the other ones, don't give a fuck what it means or who has to get fired or whatever, and you can focus on the one that has the biggest potential to scale, how easy would it be to scale that thing to like $10 million? And they're like, oh, it'd be some work, but it'd be pretty easy. And he's like, all right, go fucking do it.
Right.
He's like, but I would have to fire X, Y, and Z. And he's like, yeah, do it.
Yep. I think that we have a good thing going with the 3 multi-ops.
Oh, that's a good question right there.
Yeah, I think we have a good thing going, but like the New York is a small snowball and New Jersey is a small snowball, but it's not like I want to. I think that those will do what we're doing here in time. So I want to focus on that. I want 3 big snowballs, But there's no reason that my current large snowball couldn't be 10x of what it is. Like
and everything and the beauty of it is everything you learn in that one can apply to the other.
And that's what is happening also, and that's why I'm able to make projections of where they're going and whatnot. Is because it happened here because we're doing that shit.
And you could scale them faster.
Oh, yes,
way faster.
Way faster. Oh, hopefully. This is all hopefully.
So another discussion on where you talked about like hiring an admin and when it's right. One of the sayings we talk about a lot in Action Coach is a salary is costing you a fortune. Hiring someone is costing you a fortune currently. Mm-hmm. In the sense that hiring someone to take over 40 hours of your workload can then free you up to do so much more in terms of building a fortune.
You mean not hiring someone is costing you a fortune?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like,
I don't
not
understand
sorry, I forgot.
alternative.
Not hiring someone is costing you a fortune.
Okay, so the exact opposite.
So like their coaches and my coach preaches on the fact of even if you can't necessarily afford it for a year, hire them now.
Yeah.
And get them to a point where they make their money back.
Right. Yeah.
And as long as you have a plan to get them to the point where they make money, you're set.
I think I'm going to I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to wait until mid-November when the dust settles because now is not the time to bring on new shit. Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward 1 year after I have someone stepping in my shoes, I can do this year round all of a sudden. But right now, because of where I've positioned myself, it's not a good idea. I just like to keep what I have and not crumble because we're fucking going right now. But okay.
I do like the question from Greenby, which I've been on a coaching call with him before too, which is awesome. Do you have to scale / multi-op to be successful in a DJ business? And I would say the answer is absolutely not. If anything, you can be more successful quicker as a single op than you can a multi-op.
Yeah, well, I would just say it's just like
it's a different play.
Comparing apples to oranges kind of thing.
It is.
I have to be a manager. It's a different kind of skill set. But I know plenty of solo ops that are literally just like good ass DJs, and they're decent businessmen too. Mm-hmm. But it's not. I don't want to like compare.
Here's a good way to put this. Would you rather open your own restaurant that you're the chef for, or would you rather buy a Chick-fil-A franchise?
Well, me personally would rather go with the Chick-fil-A franchise.
But it's a different skill set.
It is.
Running your own restaurant, you're in control of the menu. You're in control of absolutely everything. Mm-hmm. Running a Chick-fil-A, you need to be a really fucking good manager and hire good employees and be good at marketing to get people in and out of the door. Yeah. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that. You also have to do that with a single, but your margins are way different. In a Chick-fil-A, you're making a thin margin on the bottom line. So you need to drive revenue through that business to make up money. Versus running your own restaurant, you're the chef, so you're putting in the hours, you're putting in the labor. Your only cost is whatever the cost is for the roof overhead.
Yeah. Well, so without metaphoring,
that was okay.
But. Yeah, it's confused. Like as a single op, let's say you push up your rate to where you're charging a couple $1,000, right, or whatever you want to charge, which is a lot more than you can charge for a multi-op probably because you're looking for bulk, but. There's even a chance that you don't even have advertising costs because you only have all those vendor referrals, and if you're charging $5,000, you have vendor referrals at that point,
absolutely.
And past clients are telling all their homies and whatnot, so you don't have overhead other than new gear. And you I don't know how many events you do. Let's say it's 50 events in a year times $5,000. Quick math, that shit. You're making money. You're
making $250,000
a year, right? Exactly. And that's only 50 events.
And here's so $250,000 in a single op versus say you got a bunch of guys doing events for you and you're making $250,000. You got to pay those guys. Versus as a single op, you are the DJ. You might have an assistant to pay, but your gross profit margin is probably 90%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do the math.
You're literally keeping all the money.
Let's say you're spending 20% on advertising and then 50% on labor. Let's just say that. You don't have any other expenses, just for easier math, right? So let's first talk about the labor. So let's say you make $250,000. All right, well now you have to make $500,000 to make $250,000. Now 20% on advertising also. So we're at $500,000, 20% of $500,000. So that's $600,000 that you have to make in order for you to walk away with $250,000 all of a sudden. So that's the difference, multi-op to single op.
And if you're in the position where you're a single op and you're considering starting a multi-op, just know you better have good manager skills or be willing to learn how to become a manager.
Right. And if you don't report any of it, you
make an extra 30%.
Yeah, and you probably will run into bigger problems in time, but technically, yeah.
We haven't really even touched on that, like the fact that, you know, in a multi-op,
the fact that you get raped in taxes. Even it doesn't matter who you are, you just get raped.
say you're like in my position. I hire people; they run everything practically at this point. I make maybe 5 to 10% of the total revenue that the company generates. I make more than that just because I am a DJ in the company. But
it's not because you own the company.
It's not because I own the company. If I just own the company and I hired someone to do all of my events, I'm making like 5 to 10% of the top end. But then I gotta turn around and pay another 40% in taxes on everything that I made there. So just cut that in half, and I make even less.
I just got hit with my tax bill finally.
Oh, finally?
For 2022. Yeah.
Oh, you and Andy finally settled that? I settled mine a while ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm just lazy, and he's lazy, as you know, and I just don't care.
I love that. Well, I think he took care of mine because it was easy. They owed me money.
Nice.
I didn't owe them money.
Yeah, I undershot my monthly payments.
Yeah, we always do it
by a lot, and that just is not what's up. But whatever, it is what it is.
It's whatever. I'm not looking forward to it this year.
Yeah. Do you want to scroll through the chat to see?
I can scroll through the chat, but there's not much to scroll through. Actually, need a CPA. Ugh. Yeah. I will say, so
hiring a CPA, I like, because I was like, oh, I shouldn't. I want to save money anywhere I can. That is not a place you want to save money, because they will finesse your shit better than you ever could, and you will, whatever they costed, you'll make more than that in the difference that you just got saved in taxes.
I will say,
it's just catastrophic.
So one of the things, because I've been researching bookkeepers, which is different.
Yep.
And one of the things, talking to other business owners, you don't necessarily want your tax CPA to also be your bookkeeper. And the reason for that is you hire your tax CPA to save you money in taxes. You hire your bookkeeper for accuracy. You don't necessarily want both to be the same person. Because there are things that, yes, we want to report our internal revenue and everything very accurately for us to understand where we're at in terms of our position. But from a tax perspective, there's a lot of additional things we can take advantage of that a bookkeeper is going to overlook. So,
well, Andy does all my bookkeeping, right? And he does. I mean, he does it. Whether he's doing it right or not, I don't know, because I'm not fucking doing it.
What he does is tax bookkeeping. I'm talking about a bookkeeper that's going to like report out your revenue, profit, like gross profit margins, and he doesn't give a shit about gross profit. He just cares about net profit.
Right.
That's all he cares about. Is like, you brought in this amount of money. How much money can we deduct from that? And then this is what you're left with. That's all he cares about. A bookkeeper will be like more accurately reporting, like, you spent this in marketing, you spent this and this, and this was your gross margin this month and this quarter. And they report everything in its accurate buckets.
Do you have a bookkeeper?
No, I do it myself. Is it something I'm considering outsourcing? Yes.
A bookkeeper is expensive.
That's the problem, and I'm really good at numbers, so I don't really feel like doing it. It takes me about an hour-ish a week to do it, so...
Yeah, I don't...
Repeat that, Rick. Oh, you don't... So your tax CPA, I think this is what he wants. Whoever your tax CPA, the person that submits the information to the government, that they're the skilled masters of knowing you can write off this, you can write off that, you can take also these your personal meals that were also networking, you can take 50% of that and deduct that. We can deduct your internet bill because you run out of a home office. We can deduct this, and that. You don't want that person to be the same person as your bookkeeper that is cooking your books on a weekly, monthly basis, only because they're going to overlook all those other write-offs. They're literally just going to take your baseline profit as is, and they're not going to look for additional things to write off to try and help you save money in taxes. In most cases, that's what I've learned with all the other business mentors I've been a part of.
Well, I'd like to think that's not true, because that's
It's
not
not
what I'm
true
doing.
in all cases. Andy, don't get him mis. Andy is first and foremost a tax CPA.
Mm-hmm.
I know that just from talking to the dude. Mm-hmm. He's always looking for ways of, because he even talks to me all the time about like, yeah, you got all that money in this one right here based on how I'm doing my bookkeeping, and he's like, but like for tax purposes, we don't want that there. We want to move it here. So can I move that? And I'm like, move it however the fuck you want.
Right.
Whatever it takes to get that bottom line tax dollar bill down, do it.
He will call me and like run some shit by me and like ask what I want to do, and I'm like, Andy, what
would you do? What would you do?
I took your advice without even, I was like, Andy, what would you do? And he'll be like, well, I'd do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, perfect.
Exactly. Do that. No, we have those same conversations.
Yeah. Well, I don't say that to fucking Lindsay. I just like yell at her because maybe I don't yell at her, but I'm just like get frustrated or something. But Andy,
that's the line that I've been trying to tell you need to do more often. That's something that my coach has been preaching. Like whenever
I brought it up,
whenever your employee calls you with a problem of any sort, just literally ask them, well, what would you do?
How do you guys write off equipment if you have an LLC and a business, and how much can you write it off?
100%.
The thing, I mean, you write off the total amount, but the percentage that you actually get negated from your income, it's like some percentage of your tax people figure that shit out.
So, well, let's put a big asterisk. We are not tax people. We're not going to give you legal advice here, so talk to your CPA. But what Andy has told us before is when you're buying DJ gear, you're buying shit that can be broken tomorrow. You're not buying an asset. An asset being like a car, a trailer, a house, something that's going to have a lifespan more than a year. Our DJ speakers, yes, we hope to get more than a year out of them, but realistically, they could be broken tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you write off 100% of whatever you paid for those speakers against your revenue.
You could, but your CPA might tell you otherwise.
It depends how you buy it.
By the way, anytime tax advice is given, you have to follow that with, but I'm not sure, ask your CPA.
Exactly. That's why I said the asterisk at the beginning.
Right. Everything we've said, not 100%, so just go ahead and ask the professionals.
You and me both do this all the time. We hear this shit, and what we do is literally tomorrow I'm going to call Andy and be like, hey, Andy, so I was on this podcast, and they were talking about writing off gear. What can we do? And then follow what their advice is, because ultimately they're the person that's going to, if you get audited, they're the person that's going to handle it.
Right.
So
right.
You want to go with whatever they recommend.
I literally tell Andy all the time, I'm like, Andy, I want to make as much money as possible, and I don't want to do any time in prison. And he's like, all right. And I was like, whatever equals that, do that. Ultimate goal of the DJ business, I don't know. I just want to get rich, I guess. I don't really have an ultimate goal.
Pilo wants to know if I'm on payroll. Yes, I'm absolutely on payroll. So my business, we've talked about before, Erik has shifted off this. I'm actually kind of like on what Erik was originally. All my guys are W-2s, with the exception of the assistants, are all on W-9 contracts for each individual event. I myself am a W-2 employee, and we are an LLC that's taxed as an S-Corp, which Erik is the same as well. So basically means we're employees of our own company, and we draw a salary. And then our salary is taxed at a ridiculous fucking percentage, like 40, 50%. And then whatever leftover profit in the business, that's only taxed at the income level, which is normally about 10% less.
So if you're an LLC, right, and you don't file as an S-Corp, let's say your net profit for the year is $50,000. You made $50,000, and you are going to get taxed again on that $50,000 because that was your income. if you file as an S corp, that's not necessarily true. You may make $50,000, but because you only paid yourself $20,000 salary, you only pay on that $20,000 as your second hit from the government, right?
Correct.
And the business holds on to that $30,000, and one day, if you pay it to yourself, okay, but that's how that works.
So yeah, to clarify that, because a little loosely defined there, there's 50. Say there's $100,000 in total profit in the company. You took a $50,000 salary. You're going to pay the max, like self-employment, everything on that, which is normally about 45 to 50% with state and everything involved. The other 50%, it sits in the business, and you are just charged your income level, which is, say, 28%. That's going to be taxed at 28%. The other half's going to be taxed at 45%. If you were just an LLC, that was an LLC as an S corp. If you're just an LLC, that pure 100,000 gets taxed at the full rate for everything. But the beauty of doing this is the idea is that $50,000 stays in the business to help grow the business. And then over time, as you grow the business, you can actually take money out of the business whenever you want because you've already paid the taxes on it. But
Right.
It's meant to be almost like a loan that you're keeping in the business to help grow it.
I'd be taking money. I'd be taking some money out and buying some bullshit.
You, especially when you get that bitch growing, 100%. Because I didn't actually know that actually still counted. So here's the part that I didn't realize was I thought my salary that I took would determine the tax income level. I didn't know that they actually combined them all together. Mm-hmm. I knew I paid taxes on that other amount, but I thought it just was like, that's the business profit. Right. That doesn't count towards me.
They're smarter than that. God
and literally, I was, so like Andy called me. He's like, so we owe some money. And I'm like, fuck, how much? And he threw out like $8,000 or something. I was like, what? Like freaking out. He's like, yeah. So you were literally, he's like, is there any, this is where we go into the taxes. He's like, is there any expenses that were on the borderline of 1 year to the next? Because you're literally $2,000 over into the next tax bracket. So if we can shift $2,000 or $3,000 to next year or the previous year or whatever, or we can't do the previous year, but we can shift it onto this year, we're going to save like $4,000. And I was like, well, I'm going to do some digging right now and let you know. So I found like an invoice that like we were invoiced in December, but like we paid in January. Mm-hmm. So like we just moved it to January because we paid in January. We're invoiced on December. So it saved my ass fucking like $4,000. But
man,
yeah.
Why does money shit have to be so fucking confusing? Like I play the song, you give me the money, and then I buy the Lamborghini.
I just wish
that's it.
You know, as much as I wish taxes were simpler, the amount of loopholes that are available in life as you like grow in a business and if you get into real estate and stuff, I kind of do like the system.
Yeah, well,
if you learn how to use it.
That super taxpayer book that I was talking about that one time, you know, it's like, well, if you're already paying,
Canada's way much different.
It's once you start paying, let's say you pay $100,000 in taxes a year. Well, all of a sudden, your new income is figuring out how to knock that tax down and keep everything else going. And that is your new income is, oh, well, if I do this little house maneuver, I can knock off $30,000 in taxes a year. And that's just in your pocket all of a sudden. And that it's the income of a super taxpayer. And obviously, I'll call it a poor person, you know, like someone who doesn't have money flowing like that, obviously can't take advantage of that.
Then you got so many, like it's getting phased out, but like you got bonus depreciation, if you guys want to look that up, is like the biggest tax advantage thing you can do, period. Bonus depreciation or just depreciation in general against assets. Like buying a business vehicle is insane. Like if you buy the one that reaches the $6,000 or whatever, this is why you see business owners driving around fucking big ass trucks and shit all the time, is the fact that if I go buy a $50,000 truck that meets this requirement, I can take all $50,000 off of my tax bill for this year. But I only pay the loan amount. Mm-hmm. So I'm not paying that amount, but I can literally take my taxes almost to zero. Mm-hmm. By doing something like that. And you can do the same thing with real estate as well. But you can turn around and sell it too.
Right.
which is interesting because you can sell it and you take the depreciation on it.
That doesn't seem right.
So you write off the full amount that vehicle was worth,
Right.
or like $50,000. That's what you paid. You can take when you go to sell it, as long as you sell it based close to the depreciational value, you don't have to pay any money back. Like that's the depreciational value. It doesn't count as profit.
Right. Right. Well, whatever. It's kind of getting in. What's giving you?
It's 6,000.
Kind of deep in this whole.
It's not 6,000. It's 6,000 net weight capacity. So that's the weight of the vehicle plus the towing or the payload capacity.
I'm not smart enough for all
Like
that
a Tesla Model
bullshit.
X counts because it's fucking heavy and it can hold 6 people, and that gives it over 6,000 pounds of payload capacity, of net or gross weight capacity.
It also matters the type of business you run, because like.
It does not make sense to just go buy a fucking truck to write it off. That doesn't make sense at all. But if you have a use for it, yes, it does.
Yeah.
TikTok taught me about the 6,000 pound trucks. Nice. Yeah. I like taxes. It's a fun subject for me because I've researched a fuckload into how to reduce my taxable income, even though I don't utilize them just yet.
Yeah. Y'all will never hear that come out of anyone else's fucking mouth either.
It's true. It's true. Remember when we had Bar on here and I started talking taxes and he was like getting scared? He was like, Rick's going to get arrested by the IRS.
It is kind of like, it just depends.
It's a gray
It like
area.
depends on this and it depends on that and where you're
does.
from and blah,
It
blah,
does.
blah.
It depends.
Most
Expensive and cheapest DJ. Our cheapest DJ package is $1,800. If it's a non-weekend date, then it's $1,600. There's a $200 discount, but there you go. It's $1,600 or $1,800. The max can go, you name it. The largest wedding to date, not corporate. We've done way bigger corporate. Is $5,800, and I'm doing it this October. It's my personal wedding or a personal wedding. I'm DJing. My rate's higher.
Yeah, ours, like I guess because we even have like an hourly rate for like 2 hour fucking
Yeah, I don't do that.
anythings. So $600 for 2 hours is our bare minimum, and then I think our most expensive package is like $4,000. It's probably less than $4,000 because I think that includes a photo booth too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 3,000 ish, somewhere 3,200 for. But then you get a bunch of shit with that.
That's probably the best advice of the night. I pay people smarter than me to make sure I don't go to jail.
That is very accurate. That's what
Absolutely.
I was saying, Jason. That's Jason in the chat.
Yes.
He like I said with Andy, it's like I want to make the most money possible without going to prison.
Yeah.
It's like you can even like get me close to it. Like you can ride that bar, but you can't put me over the hump.
Yep. So like, I talk about like, I like looking into this stuff. I like learning about this stuff. But like I said at the beginning, I run all these ideas by the people smarter than me. I research them because it's fun and I like numbers. So I like researching all these concepts. And then I'm like, hey, Andy, can we use the Augustus rule this year and write off my house versus the amount of it if I throw some parties? And then he tells me yes or no and the parameters of if we can and cannot do that. Mm-hmm. And of like what he would be comfortable with, like what needs to be documented, etc. I'll add to that, hire a good lawyer and have a lawyer on retainer because you'll need it. Just having one is very important, especially when someone throws out a lawyer clause with you. Mm-hmm. That like, we're in contact with our lawyer, and I'm like, all right, I forward that to my lawyer. But let me tell you, those lawyers, they bill you for every fucking minute they spend working on your shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyways,
That was
thank you
pretty
guys
good.
so much for tuning in. I enjoyed this conversation.
That
We
was a
talked
little
about
action-packed hour, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Efficiency, brother.
efficiency.
Well,
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live. If you were on the YouTube channel, let me know in the comments down below or the live chat what you guys are thinking of all the reels we've been dropping, or the shorts on YouTube. We're starting to use a cool little AI software to chop up our shit and put it into some reels and shorts and stuff. And if you're not following us on our Facebook page, where I think we have 4 followers now on Facebook, it's the DJ Life Podcast on Facebook. That's where we're posting a bunch of the shorts or the reels or whatever on Facebook. And, of course, on Instagram, we're also at the DJ Life Podcast. And if you just want to listen to this in the car, we're on not Shopify, Jesus Christ. Spotify. That other one. Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. Anywhere there's a podcast, we're on it. I made sure of that. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week with another awesome a random one, probably just us again talking, shooting the shit. So give us guys some topics, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.